Did you know that just a single slice of white bread in the morning can be enough to make blood sugar spike, cause aching knees, and disturb sleep in people over 60? This is not a scare tactic, but the result of many studies showing that refined starch in white bread, once entering the body of older adults, breaks down extremely fast, forcing the pancreas to strain to release insulin, after which the excess sugar turns into belly fat and triggers silent inflammation throughout the body. Meanwhile, a 2023 Harvard report that followed tens of thousands of older adults for 20 years pointed out, those who ate true whole grain bread daily lived on average more than 7 years longer and had nearly half the risk of heart disease compared with those who stuck to white bread. The question becomes very clear. Is the loaf you eat every morning nurturing longevity or silently taking away your health? After the age of 60, both the digestive and metabolic systems slow down, so the type of bread you choose directly affects blood pressure, memory, and even the quality of your sleep. The good news is not all bread is bad. If you know how to choose, bread can absolutely become a companion that helps your kidneys, heart, and joints function resiliently. In today's video, the Health Journey channel will share 4 types of bread you should eat and 4 types you need to avoid, along with guidance on how to read labels so you don't fall into advertising traps. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell so you always receive new content. Thank you for being here, and let's begin the journey of change, starting with the loaf of bread on your breakfast table. If it has become clear that one loaf of bread can determine long-term health, then the smartest choice to start with is 100% whole grain bread with seeds sprinkled on the crust. This type of bread is very easy to find in US supermarkets, and for people over 60, it is both convenient and provides many benefits for the heart, brain, and muscles. Unlike bread mixed with white flour, whole grain bread retains the entire bran and germ. So each slice contains B vitamins, especially B6 to help stabilize the nervous system, along with magnesium for muscles, selenium to boost immunity, and many natural antioxidants. The seeds sprinkled on the outside, such as pumpkin, sunflower, chia, or sesame, further provide omega-3, zinc, and healthy fats, helping to reduce mild joint inflammation, improve memory, and keep blood vessels strong. A 2024 Copenhagen study that followed more than 18,000 people for 15 years showed that just one slice of seeded whole grain bread per day could extend life expectancy by nearly 5 years and reduce the risk of death from all causes by 47%, even when their level of activity and lifestyle were similar to the group that did not eat it. Reality also proves this clearly. Mr. Michael, 67 years old in Minnesota, used to have high LDL cholesterol and often forgot to take his medication. After switching his breakfast to 2 slices of whole grain bread spread with almond butter, paired with kiwi and green tea, within only half a year his LDL dropped by 22% and his short-term memory improved significantly. When buying, pay attention to the label. It must clearly state 100% whole grain or 100% whole wheat, while terms like multigrain or wheat bread still contain white flour. Trusted brands in the US include Dave's Killer Bread 21 whole grains and seeds, Ezekiel 4, 9 sprouted grain bread, and Alvarado Street Bakery. Priority should be given to refrigerated types because sprouted grains are easier to digest and raise blood sugar more slowly. Once brought home, store the bread in the freezer, take only enough each time, then toast or reheat before eating. Simple ways to use: pair with boiled eggs, canned sardines, slices of fresh avocado, or low-sodium cheese. You can also make a sandwich with chicken breast and lettuce. Suggested portions: men 2 slices, women about 1. 5 slices in the morning, depending on activity level. Thanks to its richness in fiber and minerals, the bread helps blood sugar rise slowly, eases joint pain, and strengthens memory. Just this small change is enough to bring long-term benefits to health in old age. After becoming familiar with the taste of whole grain bread with seeds, many people want to change the flavor while still keeping benefits for the heart and kidneys. At this point, Nordic rye bread is a worthy choice to have in the kitchen. This bread is made from rye grains with a thick bran layer, rich in a special type of fiber called arabinoxylan. This fiber acts like a broom in the intestines, binding to bad cholesterol and sweeping it out. So the liver does not need to produce additional cholesterol to compensate. At the same time, rye bread has a low glycemic index, helping blood sugar rise gradually after meals, avoiding drowsiness, fatigue, or sugar cravings in between meals that older adults often experience when eating white bread. A 2020 study in Finland showed that people over 65 who regularly ate 2 slices of rye bread, about 60 g per day, after only 3 months, had their LDL reduced by an average of 16%, fasting insulin lowered by 22%, and waist circumference trimmed thanks to reduced belly fat. This is also why the culture of eating rye bread in Northern Europe is associated with lower rates of diabetes and overweight among the elderly compared to many Western European countries. When choosing, look for the label 100% whole rye or whole grain rye. A proper loaf is usually dark brown, firm to the touch, with a slight sour aroma from natural yeast. Avoid light rye or blends with white flour because the fiber content is much reduced. Rye bread pairs well with savory foods, smoked salmon, soft cheese, a few slices of cucumber, or simply lightly toasted then spread with ripe butter and sprinkled with a little pepper. Because the loaf is usually heavy and dense, you can pre-slice it, wrap it tightly for the freezer, and when needed, just reheat for 2 minutes to have a fragrant, crispy slice ready. 1 slice of rye in the morning, alternating with the seeded whole grain bread mentioned above, will enrich the menu while still controlling cholesterol, keeping blood sugar stable, and supporting the heart, brain, and muscles to maintain healthy function after age 60. After having added whole grain and rye to the menu, another piece of the puzzle that makes the meal complete and keeps the intestines functioning well is a slice of sourdough, the slow-fermented bread that people over 60 should definitely try a few times each week. Unlike regular bread made with industrial yeast, sourdough is naturally leavened thanks to wild yeast and lactic acid bacteria. This long fermentation process produces soluble fiber in the form of probiotics, which nourish beneficial bacteria in the colon, thereby balancing the gut microbiome, reducing bloating, easing constipation, and supporting gentle digestion. The natural fermentation also breaks down part of the gluten and degrades phytic acid in the bran, helping minerals such as iron, zinc, and magnesium to be absorbed better, something very important when the stomach and pancreas in older adults no longer secrete enzymes as effectively as before. A study from the University of Toronto showed that having sourdough for breakfast raised blood sugar only about 45% compared to white bread, making it especially useful for people with prediabetes or difficulty controlling blood sugar. In addition, a 2022 survey published in Food Microbiology recorded that elderly people who ate 2 slices of sourdough daily for 4 weeks significantly reduced chronic constipation, had more stable bowel movements, and enjoyed deeper sleep thanks to a lighter abdomen. When buying, look for a loaf with a hard dark brown crust, chewy crumb, and mild sour aroma. The label should read naturally leavened or wild yeast starter. Avoid products marked sourdough flavor or listing packaged dry yeast. Those are just white bread with added flavoring without the benefits of slow fermentation. If buying in bulk, pre-slice, wrap tightly, and store in the freezer. When eating, simply toast again for 3-4 minutes to get a fragrant, crispy slice. Ways to use are very flexible. In the morning, lightly toast 2 slices, spread butter, and add a fried egg. At lunch, make a sandwich with grilled chicken and lettuce or use as croutons for vegetable soup. For those who like baking at home, all that's needed is whole wheat flour, water, salt, and nurturing a starter for a week. Then leaving it to rise overnight to bake the next morning. Alternating sourdough with whole grain and rye will help the intestines stay regular, improve mineral absorption, and strengthen the immune system, a vital advantage for the elderly body to better withstand diseases. After having added sourdough to the menu, the final piece to complete the collection of breads good for old age is sprouted grain bread. The biggest difference of this type of bread lies in the step of awakening wheat, barley, or millet grains to sprout before grinding. When the grains sprout, the amount of phytic acid which hinders the body's absorption of iron and zinc decreases significantly. At the same time, natural enzymes are activated, breaking down part of the starch and protein into forms that are easier to digest, very suitable for people over 60 whose digestive enzymes work more slowly. Thanks to this, eating sprouted bread causes less bloating, indigestion, or acid reflux compared to many other breads. The sprouting process also helps increase B vitamins. A 2023 study by UCLA showed that after 8 weeks of replacing regular bread with sprouted bread, 73% of people over 65 reduced their feeling of bloating, while folate levels in the blood increased by 42% and vitamin B12 by 38%. These are two important nutrients for memory, the nervous system, and reducing numbness in the hands and feet, which are common problems in older adults. On supermarket shelves in the U.S., sprouted bread is usually kept in the freezer because it contains no preservatives. The usage is very convenient. Take the number of slices you need, toast for 2-3 minutes, and the crust becomes crispy, the inside soft like fresh. Some reputable and easy-to-find brands include Food for Life, Ezekiel 4:9, and Silver Hills, both clearly labeling sprouted whole grains on the packaging for easy recognition. For serving size, in the morning you can toast 2 slices with almond butter. Eat with ripe banana or peach. In the afternoon, 1 toasted slice drizzled with light honey and sprinkled with cinnamon makes a quick snack. If you are hesitant to change bread suddenly, you can alternate. One day whole grain, the next rye, then sourdough, followed by sprouted. This rotation not only helps the digestive system adapt, but also diversifies nutrient sources. With sprouted the final piece, the bread menu for older adults becomes complete. Easy to digest, rich in vitamins, protecting the heart, supporting memory, and making breakfast always diverse, no longer boring. After having all 4 good types of bread to add strength for the heart, brain, and intestines, the equally important step is to identify the breads to stay away from. And topping the list of troublemakers is gluten-free white bread, the kind often made from rice starch, cornstarch, or tapioca starch. By its name, it may sound safe because it contains no gluten, but in reality, this is a loaf almost empty of nutrition, lacking fiber, with no significant vitamins and mainly refined starch. The glycemic index of this bread is often above 90, equivalent to drinking a glass of sugar water. For people over 60, that causes blood sugar to spike right after a meal, forcing the pancreas to release a strong surge of insulin. Repeated over time, this easily leads to insulin resistance, increases the risk of diabetes, and causes belly fat to accumulate. Not to mention, to create chewiness and softness, manufacturers often add substances like xanthan gum and guar gum, which can cause bloating, digestive disorders, and disrupt the balance of gut probiotics, which have already declined with age. A study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition in 2022 showed the group of people over 60 who ate 2 slices of gluten-free white bread every day for 3 months had fasting blood sugar increase by 54% and LDL increase by 21%, while the group using rye bread recorded no significant changes. This is a clear warning that gluten-free does not mean healthy. If you must avoid gluten for medical reasons, a better solution is to choose bread from gluten-free whole grains such as oats, quinoa, millet, or buckwheat. These still retain the bran, thereby providing fiber and minerals. When reading labels, avoid products listing tapioca starch, rice starch, or corn starch as the first ingredient because that is refined starch. Instead, choose whole quinoa bread or pressed oat bread. Even though they may be firmer and drier, their glycemic index is half as low, helping blood sugar stay stable and keeping you full longer. This small change is enough for older adults to reduce the burden on the pancreas, keep blood fats at a safe level, and avoid uncomfortable bloating, so that each breakfast is truly light and enduring instead of making blood sugar dance after a few bites of bread. If white gluten-free bread makes blood sugar spike like drinking sugar water, then potato bread with its soft, sweet, buttery appearance is another trap that easily leads people over 60 into insulin resistance. This bread is often made from white flour mixed with mashed potatoes plus sugar and butter to retain moisture. This very combination causes starch to be digested extremely quickly. Right after eating, blood sugar shoots up, forcing the pancreas to release a surge of insulin to cope. When this reaction repeats over time, cells gradually become less sensitive to insulin, a clear precursor to type 2 diabetes. Not stopping there, the added sugar and butter also contribute to increased saturated fat, belly fat accumulation, and higher LDL cholesterol. A 2021 study in the Journal of Geriatric Cardiology, following a group of people aged 60 and above, showed eating potato bread just 3 times a week increased the risk of insulin resistance by 37% compared to the group eating whole grain bread, even though activity levels and total calorie intake were almost the same. In fact, the systolic blood pressure of this group was also higher by an average of 6 mmHg, showing the connection between high insulin and vascular constriction. If you still love the soft sweetness of potatoes, a safer choice is to make bread at home. Use boiled mashed potatoes mixed with whole wheat flour, leave out sugar, and replace butter with olive oil or a bit of light margarine. Thanks to the intact bran, the glycemic index is clearly lower, while potatoes still provide potassium to support blood pressure. Another solution is oat bread mixed with flaxseed. Still soft and lightly sweet naturally, but rich in soluble fiber to slow sugar absorption and add omega-3 for heart protection. A simple rule when buying ready-made bread: always read the ingredients carefully. If the first 3 lines are enriched wheat flour, potato flakes, sugar, or shortening, it's best to put it back on the shelf. Older adults only need to switch to whole grain bread, with less sugar and less fat, to ease the burden on the pancreas, keep blood sugar stable, and protect the heart and brain from the consequences of insulin resistance. If potato bread is already enough to make blood sugar dance, then sweet bread and pastries are even more dangerous because they not only contain refined sugar, but are also loaded with bad fats hidden behind the crispy golden crust. Cakes, croissants, milk bread, or muffins are usually made from white flour with added margarine or shortening and simple sugars. This combination forces the body to endure 2 impacts. High sugar makes the blood thicker, while trans fats stimulate the liver to produce LDL, the bad cholesterol that contributes to arterial stiffness. When inflammation occurs continuously, the adrenal glands must secrete more cortisol, the stress hormone, leading to restless sleep, morning joint pain, and faster skin wrinkling as collagen is destroyed. A study published in The Lancet in 2023 tracking more than 12,000 people over 60 showed those who ate pastries 4 times a week or more had a 44% higher risk of metabolic syndrome, including high blood sugar, belly fat, and increased blood pressure, compared to those who ate once a week or less. Their CRP tests, a marker of inflammation in the blood, were also twice as high, explaining why they often complained of joint pain, poor sleep, and dull skin. If you still want a safe sweet option, try homemade banana oat bread. Just mash 2 ripe bananas, mix with 1 cup of rolled oats, add 2 eggs or 60 ml of unsweetened yogurt, a little cinnamon and baking powder, then bake at 180 degrees C for about 25 minutes. This recipe requires no refined sugar. The sweetness comes from bananas. The fiber in oats keeps blood sugar stable, and cinnamon helps the body become more insulin sensitive. Adding a handful of chopped walnuts will increase omega-3 and crunch. The important thing is timing. Do not eat sweets, even banana bread, on an empty stomach in the morning because sugar easily spikes. Eat it 2 hours after a main meal or as an afternoon snack with a cup of herbal tea. When shopping at the supermarket, avoid products with high fructose corn syrup, palm oil, or hydrogenated fat among the first ingredients. Instead, choose low-sugar oat bread or simply fresh fruit with a few almonds. By gradually reducing pastries, within just a few weeks, many older adults have reported deeper sleep, lighter joints, and more stable weight. After having mentioned pastries with sugar and hidden fats, the last name on the list of 4 types to avoid is actually the most familiar item in the kitchen: white bread. At first glance, it may seem harmless, soft, light, easy to eat, but in reality, it is a sweet trap that makes blood sugar and memory in older adults decline faster. White bread is made from refined flour, meaning the bran and germ where fiber, vitamins, and minerals are stored have been completely removed, leaving only fast-digesting starch. The consequence is a very high glycemic index. Just 2 slices of white bread are enough to make blood sugar spike and then quickly crash, leaving behind fatigue, shaky hands, and early hunger. The lack of fiber also makes the colon, which already slows down in function after 60, prone to prolonged constipation. Many brands try to beautify it with the phrase enriched wheat flour. But in fact, this only means synthetic vitamins are added back to white flour, which cannot replace the natural micronutrients once present in the bran. Research published in Diabetes Care in 2022 showed older adults who ate white bread daily had a 46% higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes and a 33% higher risk of memory decline after 5 years, compared to the group who stuck with whole grain bread. The reason is that constant blood sugar fluctuations damage the brain's microvessels, over time impairing memory and concentration. At the same time, elevated insulin promotes belly fat and increases cardiovascular strain. If you are used to the softness of white bread, a gentler transition is to choose sourdough or finely ground whole wheat bread, still smooth to eat but adding fiber and beneficial bacteria. When eating, pair it with proteins such as boiled eggs, shredded chicken, or mashed beans so that sugar is absorbed more slowly and satiety lasts longer. One slice of whole wheat bread with nut butter and a few tomato slices will certainly stabilize blood sugar far better than 2 slices of white bread with sweet jam. Add some green vegetables to your main meals, drink enough water, and persist in eliminating white bread from daily habits. This is a simple but powerful step to protect the pancreas, keep brain vessels healthy, and maintain stable energy for an active older age. After learning how to combine bread with lean protein and healthy fats to keep blood sugar stable, the next important step is to turn knowledge into daily habit. The easiest way is to rotate the 4 healthy types of bread already mentioned: whole grain, rye, sourdough, and sprouted, so each meal is both nutritious and never boring. For example, in the morning, a slice of toasted sourdough with a fried egg and leafy greens. At lunch, a rye sandwich with salmon and cucumber. At dinner, just a bowl of pumpkin soup with a slice of whole grain spread with nut butter. The next day you can switch to sprouted with ripe avocado and boiled egg, or sourdough with lentil soup. Each meal contains fiber, protein, and healthy fats, the 3 factors that keep the body full longer, the mind alert, and the heart at ease. A small tip: buy bread on supermarket discount days, slice it in advance. Divide into small bags and freeze. When needed, just retoast for 3 minutes, the crust will be crispy like new. If you have time, try baking at home, a simple recipe with whole wheat flour, warm water, yeast, and salt, no preservatives, and the flavor is easier to digest. In short, bread can either be a companion that helps the heart, brain, and muscles stay strong, or it can become a burden on blood sugar and blood lipids, all depending on your choice. For people over 60, prioritizing the 4 healthy types of bread, paired with vegetables and protein, is a simple but effective way to maintain long-term health. If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe to the Health Journey channel, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next part. Don't forget to leave a comment. Which bread will I switch to after today? Because each of your shares may also inspire a peer to begin their healthy living journey.